Welcome back, everyone. It's another Friday, and I'm Andy Hewing, and I'm joined by Delaney Brown. We're going to talk about the big things happening in, I guess, the somewhat world of sports. And really, it's become the virtual world of sports now, as teams and players are just trying to make the most of situations. And uh, it's really come out on video games, really. A lot of teams and players are hosting virtual games. Just to name a few, like the NBA is doing 2K player tournaments. Even soccer players are doing FIFA games against each other. Um, Also, tennis players are even playing tournaments now against each other and doing challenges on the internet, and it's really interesting to watch. Delaney, what have been some of the funny challenges that you've seen that players and athletes and coaches are doing?
Well, I heard one of the newest things among the NBA and the WNBA is going to be a horse tournament. And I think that's going to be pretty entertaining to watch. I saw one of the rules is no slam dunks. So, guess that'll make it a little more fair considering not all players are of equal heights, especially because it'll be both NBA competing and WNBA. But I think that'll be really fun. And also, NASCAR and Formula One were broadcasting virtual races of current and past drivers. So I think it's really cool to see how evolved we are with technology, how it's still keeping somewhat the sports world going today.
Yeah, for sure. And even yesterday, I was involved with a press conference with Bo Nix and KJ Britt through Zoom. And it was really weird because, like, you had all these media people on the line, and they, normally I'm used to seeing them in the press conference room or, like, in person in an auditorium, and the coaches and players would be there too. But it was really strange. So it's making everything different, but thank goodness for technology because we're able to still communicate and still have fun with each other and I guess interact from afar. Um, and then even into it's changing a lot of stuff, like pro tours around different sports. It's moving a lot of golf tournaments and tennis tournaments to the fall, and the Olympics has been moved a year from now. So I guess it's all going to be really weird. Totally different scheduling. I mean, they're even talking about college football is still up for grabs right now, depending on how it's going to start. I know President Trump even said that NFL should start on time, but we still got to take precautions and stay inside so we can go see football in the fall. So talk about, I guess, just all these changes that are being made and how it's going to affect scheduling. And, it's going to be, I guess, an unprecedented year of sports where events are kind of falling into different places.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a crazy schedule. I'm sure the fall is going to be packed, considering, like you said, they moved some of the golf tournaments there. That's typically when college football is. I know the draft is still supposed to happen on time, and that's going to be completely virtual. So that's another way technology is coming into play. But another thing with the draft is that that's going to serve as a COVID-19 fundraiser, which is super cool. But hopefully, football, especially since that's huge, especially in the South. I know the Alabama governor, when she issued her statement about staying inside, she specifically mentioned football. So I know everybody's really anxious for that to play out and not get rearranged. So hopefully everybody will just continue to take those precautions and not mess up the schedules any more than necessary.
Yeah, for sure. I think um, it's going to be really weird. I think, especially for TV, because you're going to have the Masters is going to be in the fall. There's going to be tennis tournaments in the fall. Obviously, college football, if that still happens, and so many other sports happening. They're trying to finish their seasons, and I think we're going to see an overhaul of sports. But I think for the true sports fan, if you take the right precautions, this could end up being your best year ever because you can sit on a weekend and you might have college football, the golf tournaments or tennis tournaments if you're a tennis fan, or soccer, anything like that, and you could have about five sports on one weekend. And you get to watch it all from your living room, or you're actually at a game, getting to cheer on your favorite team. So I think, sure, it stinks for the sports people now, but I think it's going to reward them if they take the right precautions and do the right things that healthcare officials and government authorities are telling them to do. So that'll be interesting to see as it progresses. But one thing we have for you guys that we've been working really hard on this past week is the Auburn Top 32 Sports Moments Bracket. We've made a graphic. We're going to post this online for you to have. So be following our social media accounts and make sure you stay up to date with this. But we're going to run through the bracket, and then we're going to kind of talk about some of our matchups that we've picked and just tell y'all what we think will be some good matchups in this round and who we think might have the edge for this. So I'm going to share my screen here. Just give me 1 second. And this is the bracket that we have. We have two regions, the Aubie region and the Aria region. And we named them after the two mascots of Auburn, which Aubie being the tiger and Aria is the eagle, the new eagle that flies at Jordan-Hare Stadium before football games. So I'm going to run real quick through the Aubie region first, and we'll talk about that after. So we have Kick Six versus men's basketball versus Kentucky in 2016 in the top of the Aubrey region. Then we have 2010 national title for football versus Georgia Auburn in 2005. Baseball College World Series versus men's Sweet 16 run in 2002. Five straight swim and dive national titles versus Punt Bama Punt. Bow over the top versus softball's back-to-back SEC championships. Iron Bowl 2019 versus the men's basketball regular season title in 2018. Then we have men's basketball versus Kentucky versus football against Florida in 1994. And then the last one is Bo Heisman Trophy against Equestrian's back-to-back titles in 2018 and 19. So Delaney, what are some of the matchups that you think will be really good in the Aubrey region?
Specifically, and I don't know how close of a competition it's going to be, but I think the first matchup, the Kick Six versus men's basketball versus Kentucky in 2016, I just think that the game versus Kentucky in 2016 is most people, it was when they stormed the field, it was, or the court, it was a huge upset. And obviously, the Kick Six is going to live on forever, especially the famous radio call. But I still think that men's basketball versus Kentucky could put up a good fight, depending on, especially if people are more of a football fan or a basketball fan.
True. I think one matchup that I look at um, would be Bo over the top versus softball's back-to-back SEC championships. Now, obviously, Bo over the top for you fans who lived in the 80s and or fans who don't know much about this, Bo over the top was when Bo Jackson scored a touchdown late in the game against Alabama to beat them in 1982, and it broke a 10-year streak where Bear Bryant and Alabama had beaten Auburn and dominated them really throughout the course of that series. And finally, Auburn was able to put together a win and for Pat Dye and pull off what was one of the biggest upsets in that year. Now, obviously, softball back-to-back SEC champions in 2015 and 16. Those are some strong campaigns because Auburn, in one of those years in 2016, was able to go to the College World Series, and that actually will be in the Aria region. Stay tuned. And that was a big year for Auburn because they were able to put together these two incredible seasons. So I think it'll still be a really good matchup. I feel that more people will be inclined to Bo, but we'll see. I think softball still has a chance. Any other matchups that you're looking at in the Aubie region?
I think that the Bo Jackson Heisman and the Equestrian titles is also an interesting matchup just because sometimes people do refer to Auburn as a horse school because we're undefeated. So, like, our equestrian team is just amazing. Once again, this year they finished really high in the rankings. And I think that that's super cool because it's not a program that every school has, but we do have it and we're really good at it. So I think that'll be pretty close up against the Bo Jackson Heisman.
True, true. I think a lot of people love the equestrian team now. They start to really respect them because equestrian's not as I guess glamorous as some of the other sports and not as watched by a lot of people. But now it's starting to become a big thing for Auburn because we know we're good at it and we know that we have a really good coach and a really good team. So I think yeah, it will have a really good chance against both Heisman. Now we're going to move over to the ARIA region where there'll be some more notable games. So let's check them out. So at the top, we have the Final Four run in 2019 against the Iron Bowl in 1993. Prayer Jordan Hare from 2013 against the Iron Bowl 2017. Iron Bowl 2010 versus Cam's Heisman. Softball College World Series run in 2016 versus David Ross's home run in the Tallahassee Regional in 1997. And then football will against Florida, excuse me, in 2001, against gymnastics against Alabama in 2016. Football's 2004 season against swim and dive or women's swim and dive's 3 straight national titles. Football against Georgia in 2017 against the first ever Iron Bowl in 1989 at Auburn, that is. And then Pat Sullivan's Heisman against the 1957 national title. So, Delaney, any matchups that really stand out to you in this one?
I'm really excited to see how the Cam matchup plays out for the Iron Bowl 2010 and Cam Heisman. Because Iron Bowl 2010, Cam back, Auburn came back from a 24-point deficit. So it's just two great Cam Newton moments, and everybody who's an Auburn fan is a Cam Newton fan. So I think that's going to be really close.
Yeah, I agree. I think that will be a close matchup because we said it last week. You know, it's kind of pick your favorite Cam moment. But I think for the Cam back though, I think it's kind of a culmination of like we're playing the Iron Bowl. Auburn's down, but then here comes Cam leading them back. It wasn't a pretty game. I wouldn't necessarily say it was like a Heisman moment. It was definitely a resiliency from him. But I think for Cam's Heisman, it shows how dominant he was as a player because in the other games that he played, he really flexed his muscles and showed like I'm worthy of this trophy. So I think of the LSU game. I was at this game when Cam made the incredible run and even outran Patrick Peterson, who's playing in the NFL right now as well, along with Cam. And I think of that run because he was just so elusive and so strong and so fast on that run. I've never seen anything like it. So I think, the Heisman Trophy kind of shows a culmination of his power, but then the comeback, though, is a special moment in Auburn history. So I think that will be a really good matchup to watch. One other matchup that I look at is football against Georgia in 2017 against the first time ever Iron Bowl in 1989. I think when you look at that matchup, I see obviously a really big game for Auburn in 1989 where they've been fighting to bring the series to Auburn, Alabama because they've had to go to Legion Field every time to play, and Pat Dye had enough of it and finally won the battle to get it to Auburn. But then the Georgia game in 2017 where Auburn needed to win 2 games and they had to win out to go to Atlanta, and they did that by beating Georgia really bad, and then got Alabama by 2 touchdowns. And I just think that run in 2017 was really cool. But also, the Georgia game specifically, because Auburn just beat the brakes off of Georgia really, really well and just looked really good. And overall, it was just a solid performance from all phases. Even though Auburn would lose to Georgia in that second game in the SEC championship, I still think that was a game that people will look back on.
Exactly.
Any other matchups that you're looking at?
I think the two that we mentioned are the two major matchups I'm most excited about. Also, if we wanted to throw in there the Final Four 2019 versus Iron Bowl 93, once again, it's another high seed versus technically a low seed, but it's still an amazing Auburn sports moment. I think once again it's going to come down to football fans versus basketball fans.
True, true. I think it will be interesting to watch, but I'm going to turn off the share screen. But yeah, it's going to be really great to watch. We'll have the pages up online, and we'll be posting 2 games per day on social media for people to vote on. That way, we can work on it day by day, and you can vote from starting today all the way to Thursday, and then we'll release the results on Friday, and then have a new bracket out for the next round on Saturday. So it'll be a really fun time. Hopefully, this will give you a chance to just do something while you're inside and not doing much, and you can vote on your favorite Auburn sports moment. I'm sure many of you who are watching have lived through some of the best moments in Auburn sports. I know Delaney and I have watched a few as we were in school, and yeah, it's really crazy. Just having to pick all these games. Delaney, is there a moment? I know you and I were at the 2019 Iron Bowl, but is there a moment besides that game that you remember watching or being at a game, as a student or before you came to Auburn?
I mean, most of my amazing moments have been very recent. Besides the 2019 Iron Bowl, one of the first ones that comes to mind was when we played Kentucky at home this year. College game day came. That was an amazing comeback story, a historical day in Auburn because it was the first time game day had come to the Plains. And so that day was kind of a loaded day. There's just so many things happening that and everything seemed to go right.
Yeah, yeah, that was a really good game. I remember going to that, and the amount of time since I know you and Sam Humphrey covered that game, the amount of time that we waited for that as fans, it was insane. I mean, I got there at 5:45 a.m., waited in line for that game. And then for game day, and then we went back out and waited 4 more hours for the actual game, and I barely got in the student section for the game. So it was just it was insane, and just seeing the amount of people who wanted to be in and be in the bottom in the jungle for that was crazy. But I think as a whole, that was a special game because it just showed you how much our program has grown and how many people now just want to come and support Auburn basketball, because it's like the thing to do in the spring if you're a sports fan, besides go to baseball or any other of the spring sports. I mean, it's just incredible what Bruce Pearl has done. I think that game was just a testament to his leadership and how this team has evolved.
It really was. That game will go down in history for sure.
Yep. But yeah, that's going to do it for us. Make sure you go and check out this bracket. It'll be online and social media, like we said. Voting will be all the way through the week on Thursday. And then we'll have the results for you on next Friday. And hopefully we'll bring out the next bracket in the week ahead. So thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next week.